The stars were quiet in this part of space. They were always quiet near the edge of the solar system, far from Earth, far from the busy shipping lanes where cargo vessels moved between planets. Out here, there was only darkness, cold rocks, and silence. Captain Park stood on the bridge of the HSS Resolute and looked at the main screen. The screen showed nothing but empty space and distant stars. He had been a captain for 12 years, and he had learned to appreciate the quiet moments. They never lasted long enough. The Resolute was not a big ship. It was a destroyer built for speed and combat rather than comfort. The corridors were narrow. The rooms were small. Everything was designed to work, not to look pretty. Liked it that way. A ship should be a weapon first and a home second. Lieutenant Commander walked up to stand beside him. She was his first officer, and she had been with him for 6 years. She was younger than him by 15 years, but she was sharp and quick. Trusted her completely. "Quiet patrol," said. "Nothing on sensors for the past 8 hours." "Good," replied. "Quiet is good." At the communications station, Ensign Lee checked his screens for the 100th time. He was young, barely 23 years old, and this was his first assignment in deep space. Everything was new and exciting to him. He wanted something to happen, something interesting. He did not know that he would soon regret that wish. The Resolute continued its slow patrol along the outer edge of human territory. The belt stretched around them, a ring of ice and rock that marked the boundary of the solar system. Beyond it was interstellar space, the vast emptiness between stars. Suddenly sat up straight. His screen showed something strange. "Captain," he said, his voice uncertain, "I am picking up an unusual energy reading." Turned to look at him. "What kind of reading?" "I am not sure, sir. It could be a natural phenomenon, a pulsar maybe, or some kind of radiation burst." Studied his screens more carefully. "But the pattern is strange. It seems artificial." Moved to the tactical station and pulled up her own readings. Her face grew serious as she studied the data. "Captain, I am detecting multiple signatures. Many of them. They are approaching from outside the solar system." Felt a cold feeling in his stomach. In all of human history, they had never found intelligent life beyond Earth. They had searched for centuries, sent probes to distant stars, listened for signals from the void. Nothing. The universe had seemed empty. Until now. "How many signatures?" asked. Was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was steady but could hear the tension underneath. "Over 200, sir. They are in formation, military formation." The bridge went silent. 200 vessels. The entire human fleet numbered only about 150 combat ships, and they were spread across the solar system. Out here, at the edge of everything, the Resolute was alone. Said calmly, "Send an emergency message to Earth Command. Tell them what we are seeing. Tell them to send everything they have." "Yes, sir," began typing rapidly. His hands were shaking slightly. "How long until the signals reach Earth?" asked. 4 hours, sir, and any response will take another 4 hours to reach us." 8 hours. They were 8 hours away from any help. Looked at the captain. "Sir, what are your orders?" Thought for a moment. He could run. The Resolute was fast, faster than most ships in the human fleet. He could probably escape before the unknown vessels arrived. But if he ran, he would leave Earth blind. He would not know what these vessels wanted or what they planned to do. "Yellow alert," he said. "Raise shields to standby. Prepare all weapons but do not arm them yet. We will try to communicate first." The bridge crew moved quickly and quietly. They were well trained. Even for all his nervousness, did his job without mistakes. Minutes passed. The energy signatures grew closer. The Resolute's sensors began to pick up more details. The vessels were large, much larger than human ships. Their design was unlike anything in the human database. They were clearly not human. "Open a channel," ordered. "All frequencies. Send a greeting message in all known languages." Sent the message. They waited. No response came. Try mathematics, suggested. Prime numbers, universal language. Sent a sequence of prime numbers. Still no response. The alien fleet came closer. Now the Resolute's cameras could see them clearly. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Their hulls were dark purple, almost black, and they moved in perfect formation like a school of deadly fish. The largest ships were carriers or command vessels, easily 10 times the size of the Resolute. The smallest were still bigger than the human destroyer. Counted them, 217 vessels, an invasion fleet. They are not responding to any communication attempt, reported. They know we are here, said. They are scanning us. I can detect their sensor beams. Nodded slowly. They knew the Resolute was here and they did not care. They were not afraid of one small human ship. Why would they be? They had an armada. Captain said quietly, "What do we do?" Looked at the screen. 217 ships against one. The math was simple. The math said they should run, but had not become a captain by following simple math. "We hold position," he said. "This is human space. We do not run from our own territory." The alien fleet stopped. They had reached the edge of the solar system. For a moment, nothing happened. The Resolute floated alone before the Armada like a mouse facing a pack of wolves. Then space itself seemed to tear open. A bright flash of light filled the screens, and the alien ships completed their arrival. They were now fully in normal space, and they were even more terrifying up close. Their weapons were visible now, rows and rows of gun ports and missile tubes. Straightened his uniform. Whatever happened next, he would face it standing tall. "Send one more message," he told. "Tell them that this is human territory. Tell them we wish to talk peacefully, and tell them that if they come in war, we will answer in kind." Sent the message. The Resolute waited. The response came not in words, but in action. The largest ship in the alien fleet, a massive command vessel at the center of the formation, turned its guns toward the tiny human destroyer. First contact had begun, and it did not look peaceful. On the bridge of the Dominion Blade, Fleet Commander watched the small alien vessel on his screen. He had conquered 47 species across 3 galaxies. He had burned worlds and broken empires. And now this tiny ship, this insect, dared to stand in his path. He found it almost amusing. "What do we know about them?" asked. His voice was deep and cold like stones grinding together. Sub-Commander stepped forward. He was smaller than, with gray skin and nervous eyes. He served as the fleet's intelligence officer, and he always worried about things that considered unimportant. "Very little," Commander said. "They call themselves humans. They come from the 3rd planet of this star system. Their civilization is young, perhaps 400 years into space travel. Their technology appears primitive compared to ours." "Primitive," repeated. He liked that word. "How many ships do they have?" "Our long-range scans suggest approximately 150 combat vessels in their entire fleet. They are spread across their solar system. This single ship appears to be alone." Smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "One ship, one primitive ship, and they send us messages about talking peacefully." He laughed, and the bridge crew laughed with him. "They are either very brave or very stupid." "Perhaps both," said carefully. "Commander, may I suggest we scan their vessel more carefully before we proceed? We know nothing about their weapons or their capabilities." Waved his hand dismissively. "What is there to know? They are insects. We are the Dominion. We have crushed species 1,000 times more advanced than these humans." He turned to his weapons officer. "Fire a warning shot, near their ship, not at it. Let them understand their position." The weapons officer obeyed. A beam of bright blue energy shot from the Dominion blade and passed within a few hundred meters of the human ship. It was a standard intimidation tactic. Most species surrendered immediately after seeing firepower. On the Resolute, the bridge shook from the energy that passed nearby. Warning lights flashed across every console. "That was a warning shot," reported. "They missed on purpose." Captain nodded. He understood the message clearly. Surrender or die. "Red alert," he said calmly. "Raise shields to full power, arm all weapons." Looked at him with wide eyes. "Sir, are we going to fight them, all of them?" Did not answer directly. Instead, he pressed a button on his chair that opened a channel to the entire ship. "All hands, this is the captain. We have encountered an alien fleet of over 200 vessels. They have fired a warning shot. We do not know their intentions, but we must prepare for the worst." He paused. "I will not lie to you. We are outnumbered. Help is hours away, but this is our home. This is human space, and we do not run." Throughout the ship, the crew listened. In the engine room, Chief Engineer put down her tools and moved to her battle station. She was a small woman with grease on her hands and steel in her eyes. She had built half the systems on this ship herself. She knew every wire, every circuit, every weakness and strength. If anyone could keep the Resolute alive, it was her. On the Dominion blade, watched his screens with growing impatience. The human ship had not moved. It had not sent any message of surrender. Instead, his sensors showed that it was raising its shields and powering its weapons. "They are preparing to fight," said, his voice worried. "Commander, this is unusual behavior. Most species submit immediately when faced with our fleet." "Most species are smart," replied. "These humans are clearly fools." He was no longer amused. He was annoyed. This was supposed to be an easy conquest, a quick victory to add another species to the Dominion's collection. He did not want to waste time on one stubborn ship. "Send them a message," he ordered. "In their own language, tell them to surrender immediately or be destroyed." The message was sent. On the Resolute, translated it for the captain. "They call themselves the Dominion," said. "They demand our immediate surrender. They say resistance is pointless." Listened carefully, then he smiled slightly. "Send a reply," he said. "Tell them that we thank them for their offer, but we must decline. This is human territory. We suggest they leave peacefully while they still can." Stared at him. "Sir, are you sure?" "Send it, Ensign." The message was sent. On the Dominion blade, received it and could not believe what he was reading. "They tell us to leave," he said slowly. "One ship tells my fleet of 200 to leave." He crushed the data pad in his hand. "These humans are insane." "Or they know something we do not," said quietly. Turned on him with fury in his eyes. What could they possibly know? Their ship is tiny. Their technology is inferior. They are nothing. "Then why are they not afraid?" asked. Did not have an answer. For a moment, just a moment, he felt something strange. It was not quite fear, but it was close. He pushed the feeling away. He was fleet commander. He did not fear insects. "Send 5 cruisers," he commanded. "Disable their ship. Do not destroy it. I want prisoners. I want to know why these humans think they can challenge the Dominion." 5 cruisers broke formation and moved toward the Resolute. Each cruiser was twice the size of the human destroyer. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. On the Resolute tracked their approach. 5 enemy vessels incoming," she reported. "They will be in weapons range in 3 minutes." Stood perfectly still. He was thinking, calculating, planning. 5 ships. He could handle 5 ships. Maybe. He said into the ship's communication system, "How are the engines?" In the engine room, checked her readings. "Ready for anything, Captain. I have been saving our best tricks for a special occasion." "This occasion is special enough," replied. He turned to his weapons officer. "Are they ready?" Lieutenant sat at the weapons console. She was calm and focused, her fingers resting lightly on the controls. She had the best aim in the human fleet. She never missed. "Are charged and ready, Captain," she said. "Missiles standing by, all weapons green." Nodded. They were humanity's pride. They fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds, fast enough to punch through almost any shield. No other species they knew of used kinetic weapons like this. Everyone else used energy beams. Everyone else was about to learn why that was a mistake. "Hold fire until my command," said. "Let them come to us. Let them think we are easy prey." The 5 cruisers came closer. Their weapons began to charge, glowing with blue energy. On the Dominion Blade watched with satisfaction. Soon this foolish human ship would be disabled. Soon he would have his prisoners. Soon he would teach these insects their place in the universe. He had no idea what was about to happen. His voice was steady. Enemy vessels entering weapons range in 10 seconds. Took a deep breath. All hands brace for combat. The 5 cruisers opened fire. Blue energy beams streaked across space toward the Resolute. The battle had begun. The energy beams hit the Resolute's shields with tremendous force. The ship shook violently. Lights flickered. Console screens flashed warnings, but the shields held. On the Dominion Blade, Sub-Commander stared at his readings in confusion. "Commander," he said slowly, "the human shields are still up. All 5 cruisers hit them directly. The shields should have failed." Leaned forward. "What?" "Their shields are holding. They should not be able to do that. Our weapons are far superior to anything they should have." On the Resolute, Captain allowed himself a small smile. They did not understand human engineering. Humans did not build ships for comfort or beauty. They built ships to survive. The Resolute had 3 layers of shields, each one designed to absorb different types of energy. The hull beneath those shields was reinforced with materials that humans had developed after centuries of building things that needed to last. "Shields at 82%, reported. "Minor damage only." "Return fire," ordered. "Show them what we can do." Weapons officer had been waiting for this moment. She had trained for years, practiced for thousands of hours, all for situations exactly like this. Her fingers moved across the console with perfect precision. The Resolute's main fired. It was a simple weapon in principle. It used electromagnetic force to accelerate a solid metal projectile to incredible speeds. The Resolutes could fire a 20-kilogram tungsten rod at 3% of the speed of light. At that velocity, the impact was devastating. The projectile crossed the distance to the lead cruiser in less than a second. The cruiser's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, could not handle a solid object moving that fast. The shield flickered and failed. The tungsten rod punched through the cruiser's hull like a needle through paper. The cruiser exploded. One moment it was there, a proud warship of the Dominion. The next moment it was a ball of fire and debris, spreading across space in a cloud of destruction. The other 4 cruisers hesitated. Their captains could not believe what they had just seen. One shot from the tiny human ship had destroyed a cruiser. Did not give them time to think. She fired again and again and again. The second cruiser tried to evade but had predicted its movement. The round caught it in the engine section. The ship broke apart, its reactor exploding in a flash of blue light. The third cruiser managed to raise its shields to maximum power. It did not matter. The tungsten round tore through the shields and hit the bridge directly. The entire front section of the cruiser was destroyed. The 4th and 5th cruisers finally began to retreat. They turned away from the Resolute, trying to escape back to the main fleet. Destroyed one of them with a shot to its fuel storage. The explosion was massive, spreading fire across 1,000 kilometers of space. The last cruiser sent a desperate message to the Dominion Blade before its final shot silenced it forever. 90 seconds. 5 cruisers destroyed in 90 seconds. On the Dominion Blade, complete silence filled the bridge. Every officer, every crew member stared at the screens showing the wreckage of their cruisers. No one could speak. No one could understand what had just happened. Fleet Commander's hands were shaking. He gripped the arms of his command chair so tightly that his claws left marks in the metal. What? He started, but his voice failed him. He tried again. What kind of weapon was that? Studied his readings with trembling hands. It appears to be a kinetic weapon, Commander. They fire solid projectiles at extremely high velocities. Kinetic weapons, could not believe it. No civilized species uses kinetic weapons. They are primitive. They are inefficient. They are also, said quietly, apparently very effective against our shields. Stood up, his shock was turning into rage. 5 cruisers, 5 of his ships destroyed by one tiny vessel. This was impossible. This was humiliating. His entire career, his entire reputation was at stake. All ships, he commanded, his voice shaking with fury, advance on the human vessel. All ships now. Stepped forward. Commander, please. We should analyze the situation first. We should understand their capabilities before we. Silence, roared. I will not be made a fool by insects. The entire fleet will destroy this ship. There will be nothing left but atoms. On the Resolute, the crew watched as the entire Armada began to move. 212 remaining ships turned their weapons toward them. They are all coming, said, his voice barely a whisper. I can see that, replied calmly. Captain, we cannot fight all of them. We just used a significant portion of our ammunition on those 5 cruisers. In the engine room, his voice came over the communication system. Captain, I can boost the shields by another 20% if I redirect power from non-essential systems, but it will not be enough, not against that many ships. Nodded slowly. He looked at the tactical display, 212 ships. He had destroyed 5 with surprise on his side. Now they knew what human weapons could do. They would be more careful. They would coordinate their attacks. But also saw something else in those numbers. He saw an enemy that was angry, an enemy that was rushing forward without thinking, an enemy that had just made a terrible mistake. He said, "What is behind us?" Understood immediately, she checked her sensors. The asteroid field, sir, the outer edge of the belt, dense with ice and rock. Perfect, said. He opened a channel to the entire ship. All hands prepare for high-speed maneuvers. We are going to make the work for this fight. He turned to his navigation officer. Take us into the asteroid field. Find us some cover. Was young but skilled. His hands flew across the navigation console. Course plotted, Captain. It will be rough. Rough is fine, replied. Rough keeps us alive. The Resolute turned and accelerated toward the asteroid field. Behind them the fleet followed, their weapons charging, their rage burning. On the Dominion blade, watched the human ship flee. Cowards, he said with satisfaction. They run because they know they cannot win. Was not so sure. He watched the tactical display with growing concern. The human ship was not running randomly. It was running toward the asteroid field, where the dense rocks would make it difficult for the large vessels to maneuver. Commander said carefully, I do not think they are running. I think they are choosing their battlefield. Dismissed his concern with a wave. It does not matter what they do. 200 ships will crush them. Send the vanguard in first. Smaller ships that can navigate the asteroids. Hunt them down. 30 destroyers accelerated ahead of the main fleet. They entered the asteroid field, spreading out to search for the human vessel. In the shadows of a massive ice asteroid, the Resolute waited. They are coming, reported, 30 smaller vessels, scout destroyers. Said, let us show them that running was not the same as hiding. Smiled, with pleasure, Captain. The fired again, and the hunt became a slaughter. The asteroid field became a graveyard for ships. The Resolute moved like a ghost through the shadows, appearing from behind ice mountains to strike, and then vanishing before the enemy could respond. Destroyed 3 destroyers in the first minute. The ships were fast, but they were not designed for this kind of fighting. Their captains were trained to fight in open space, in formations, with overwhelming numbers. They did not know how to hunt a single enemy that refused to stay still. Navigation officer guided the Resolute through impossible paths. He flew between spinning asteroids, around massive chunks of ice, through gaps that seemed too small for any ship to pass. His hands never stopped moving, his eyes never left the screens. Coming up on another group, reported. 4 destroyers bearing 327. Said. The fired, 2 destroyers exploded instantly. The third took a hit to its engines and began spinning out of control, crashing into an asteroid. The fourth tried to turn and flee, but it was too slow. Shot caught it perfectly. In the engine room, Chief Engineer was performing miracles. The constant maneuvering was pushing the engines beyond their normal limits. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Temperature gauges showed dangerous levels. "Come on, baby," she whispered to the ship, her hands flying over the controls. "Hold together for me, just a little longer." She rerouted power from every non-essential system. Life support in empty sections, lighting in unused corridors. Everything went to the engines and shields. The Resolute might not be comfortable, but it would survive. On the Dominion Blade, Fleet Commander watched his destroyers die one by one. 15 gone, then 20, then all 30. 30 ships, destroyed by one vessel hiding in an asteroid field. "Impossible," he kept saying. "This is impossible." Sub-Commander had stopped trying to advise caution. He knew that was beyond reason now. The Fleet Commander's pride had become his biggest weakness. He could not accept that a single human ship was defeating his armada. "Send in the cruisers," commanded. "All of them, surround the asteroid field. Let nothing escape." 50 cruisers moved to encircle the belt region where the Resolute was hiding. Their weapons were more powerful than the destroyers. Their shields were stronger, but they were also bigger and slower, and the asteroid field was not kind to large ships. On the Resolute, the crew was exhausted but determined. They had been fighting for over an hour. The ship had taken damage despite its best efforts. The port shields were failing. Several sections had lost power. Medical Officer Shin moved through the ship, treating the wounded. A power surge had injured 3 crew members in the weapons section. An explosion had wounded 5 more near the rear shields. Worked quickly and calmly, stopping bleeding, stabilizing injuries, keeping people alive. "How bad is it?" asked through the communication system. 12 wounded so far, reported. 2 serious. Everyone else can still fight. "Keep them fighting, Doctor." The Resolute continued its deadly dance through the asteroids, but they were learning. They were adapting. Their cruisers moved in coordinated groups, covering each other, giving the human ship fewer opportunities to attack without being seen. "They are getting smarter," observed. "They would have to be stupid not to," replied. "What are you hearing on their communications?" Ensign had been monitoring the frequencies since the battle began. His translation software struggled with the alien language, but he caught enough to understand. "They are scared, Captain," he said, almost disbelieving his own words. "They call us the demon ship. They say we cannot be killed. Some of them are refusing to advance." Felt a strange mix of pride and sadness. He did not want to be a demon. He wanted to be a diplomat. He wanted First Contact to be peaceful, but they had chosen war, and now they were learning that humans were not easy prey. "Captain," said suddenly, "the main fleet is moving. The entire fleet. They are coming straight toward us." Checked the tactical display. She was right. Over 150 remaining ships were abandoning their positions and charging directly into the asteroid field. It was reckless. It was dangerous for ships that large. It was also overwhelming. "They are trying to flood the field with numbers," continued. "Even if they lose more ships to the asteroids, they will find us eventually." "How long until they reach our position?" 10 minutes, maybe less." 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, the Resolute would be surrounded by over 100 enemy ships. Even with flying skills, they could not fight those odds. Thought about his options. He could try to run, to break through the enemy formation and escape into open space, but they would be chased. They would follow them all the way to Earth if necessary. He could surrender, accept defeat and hope they would take prisoners, but he had seen how they treated inferior species in their communications. Surrender meant slavery or worse. Or he could do something crazy. He said slowly, "Where is the Dominion blade?" She checked her sensors. "At the rear of the fleet, Commander. They are hanging back, letting their other ships do the fighting." "Show me the path to reach them." Understood immediately. Her eyes widened. "Captain, you want to go through their entire fleet, to attack their flagship. If we cut off the head, the body dies. Without their commander, the fleet will have no leadership, no coordination," stood up from his chair. "We might not survive, but neither will they." The bridge was silent. Every officer looked at the captain. They knew what he was asking. He was asking them to charge into almost certain death for a chance at victory. Lieutenant Commander was the first to speak. "I will plot the course, Captain." "Shields will not last long against that many ships," his voice came from the engine room. "But I can give you everything I have got. One big push." "Weapons are ready," added. "If we are going down, I am taking as many of them with us as possible." Was already calculating trajectories. "I can get us through, Captain. It will be the craziest flying I have ever done, but I can do it." Looked at his crew. These people trusted him. They were willing to die for this mission, for their home, for humanity. "Then let us go kill a fleet, Commander," he said. The Resolute emerged from the asteroid field at full speed, heading straight toward the heart of the Armada. Behind them, the massive fleet struggled to turn and follow. Ahead, the Dominion blade waited. Saw the human ship coming. He could not believe it. "They are charging us," he said. "They are actually charging us." Watch the tactical display with something like admiration. "They are insane, completely insane." "They are dead," replied. "All ships fire at will, destroy them." The fleet opened fire. The sky filled with blue energy beams. The Resolute flew directly into the storm. And somehow, impossibly, it kept coming. The Resolute burned through the formation like a comet made of fire and steel. Energy beams hit its shields from every direction. The ship shook with constant impacts. Alarms screamed. Systems failed. But the ship kept moving. Navigation officer flew like a man possessed. He dodged between enemy vessels, used their own ships as shields, made turns that should have torn the Resolute apart. His hands were a blur on the controls, his eyes seeing paths that did not seem to exist. "Left shield down," someone shouted. "Compensating," yelled back from engineering. She was covered in sweat and oil, running from console to console, keeping the ship alive through sheer willpower. Fired the without stopping. Every shot found a target. A cruiser lost its engines. A destroyer exploded. A carrier's flight deck was torn open. She was not trying to destroy the fleet anymore. She was clearing a path. The Resolute broke through the first line of ships. Then the second. Fires burned in 3 sections of the human vessel. Medical officer had set up emergency stations throughout the ship, treating wounds as they happened. "Captain, rear shields are gone," reported. "Redirect all power to forward shields," ordered. "We are not going back anyway." On the Dominion blade, Fleet Commander watched the demon ship tear through his fleet. Over 60 of his vessels were destroyed or disabled. The human ship was damaged, trailing smoke and fire, but it was still coming for him. "All ships concentrate fire on that vessel," he screamed. But his fleet was in chaos. Ships were colliding with each other in their rush to target the Resolute. Communications were flooded with panic. Officers were screaming about impossible weapons and unstoppable humans. Sub-commander grabbed his arm. "Commander, we need to retreat. The fleet is broken. We cannot." Threw him aside. "I will not retreat from insects. I am fleet commander. I have conquered 47 species." "And you are about to lose to the 48th, said quietly. The Resolute was now visible through the bridge windows of the Dominion blade. The human ship was a wreck. Its hull was scorched and torn. Fires burned along its length. Half its weapons were destroyed, but it was still coming. "All power to forward weapons," commanded. "Fire everything now." The Dominion blade unleashed its full arsenal. Massive energy beams, missiles, plasma bursts, everything the flagship had. The barrage hit the Resolute directly. On the human ship, the impact was devastating. The forward shields collapsed. The hull breached in multiple locations. Half the bridge consoles exploded, was thrown from her station, was knocked unconscious. Captain pulled himself up from the floor. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. Around him, his bridge was destroyed, but through the cracked main screen he could see the Dominion blade. Close, so close. He said, his voice rough, "Can you still fire?" At the weapons console was injured but alive. Her left arm hung useless at her side, but her right hand found the controls. "One more shot, Captain," she said. "They are damaged. I have one shot left." "Then make it count." Open the ship-wide communication. His voice echoed through every corridor, every room, every section of the dying ship. "All power to forward weapons. Everything we have left. Give everything." In engineering heard the order. She looked around at her damaged engine room. Fires burned, pipes leaked. Half her crew was wounded, but they were still alive, still fighting. "You heard the captain," she said. "Everything, all of it now." The engineering crew moved. They rerouted every remaining power source to the weapons. Life support, gravity, lights. Everything went to the ship went dark except for emergency lighting. Gravity failed and the crew floated in zero-G. But the weapons console lit up bright green. Targeted the Dominion blade. The flagship was charging another volley. Its weapons glowed with deadly energy. In seconds, it would fire and destroy the Resolute completely. Fired first. The final shot was not one projectile, had modified the system, combining all remaining ammunition into one massive kinetic payload. It crossed the distance between ships in a heartbeat. The Dominion blade's shields held for exactly half a second. Then they shattered like glass. The tungsten rounds tore through the flagship's hull, through its bridge, through its reactor core. The explosion was enormous. The Dominion blade broke apart in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. Fleet commander died instantly, still refusing to believe that he had lost. The fleet stopped. Every ship went silent as they watched their flagship die. Their commander was gone. Their chain of command was destroyed. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the surviving ships turned and fled. They ran toward the edge of the solar system, toward the safety of interstellar space. They did not stop. They did not look back. The battle was over. The Resolute drifted in the debris field that had once been the Armada. The ship was barely functional. Life support was at minimum. Power was failing. But the crew was alive. Captain floated on his damaged bridge, looking at the stars through the cracked viewport. They had won. One ship against over 200. They had actually won. 4 hours later, the first human reinforcements arrived. A dozen destroyers and 2 carriers emerged from faster-than-light travel to find the most impossible sight any of them had ever seen. One human ship, surrounded by the wreckage of an alien invasion fleet. Captain was rescued and taken to the carrier for medical treatment. When the admiral asked him what happened, his report was simple. "They came to conquer our home. We disagreed." The story of the Resolute spread across human space within days. Within weeks, it reached alien civilizations through salvaged transmissions. Within months, the entire galaxy knew what had happened. A single human warship had destroyed an armada on first contact. The Dominion, conquerors of 47 species, had been broken by one small vessel from a young civilization they had dismissed as insects. Other alien species began to look at humanity differently, some with fear, some with respect, some with curiosity. The humans were dangerous, yes, but they were also brave. They protected their home. They did not surrender. They never returned to human space. They had learned their lesson. The universe had learned a lesson too. Humanity had announced itself to the stars, and the stars had learned to listen. Years later, a memorial was built in orbit around Earth. It honored the crew of the HSS Resolute and their impossible victory. The inscription on the memorial was taken from Captain's report, the same words he had spoken when asked to explain how one ship had defeated an empire. "They came to conquer, we disagreed." It became humanity's motto among the stars, a warning to enemies, a promise to friends, a reminder that no matter how small, no matter how outnumbered, humans would always fight for their home. Always.